Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. We are handing out free consultations right now. So I'm going to allow some people to come join us. And then as soon as I see enough people come in, I'm going to go ahead and announce the code word to get the free consultation for today. I just want to give everybody a fair shot here. So I'm going to wait for a little. In the meantime, get your phones ready. I'm going to put the number in on each platform, but do not call until I announce the code word for today. So once I announce code word for today, go ahead and make the call, but don't do it before. You won't have the passcode to get that. So the number is going across the screen on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and on TikTok. I'm going to go ahead and type it in, but it's also at the top of the comment section as well. So it's 561-405-4889. And it's under Immigration Attorney Sharifa. Here on Instagram, I went ahead and typed it in. It's under Immigration Lawyer Sharifa. And on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, it's going across the screen right now. You can see the number. So the code word for today is positivity. So the code word is positivity. Go ahead, make the call. Now, remember, the rule here is you have to be the first two callers, and the first two callers to Jalen or to Eleanor. But Jalen and Eleanor, nobody else. If you get somebody else, then it means that you are not the first two. But don't fear, starting on the 16th, I'll be opening up the chance to get discounted consultations. And that's only if you apply yourself online. So for that one, you'll need to apply online. And to access the link to apply on your own, you're going to go to the link in the profile page on Instagram. The link is on the description of the video in Facebook, in Twitch, and YouTube. And the link is in the bio on TikTok. So use those links to access that button that says schedule your own consultation. But that discount is not starting until the 16th. So stay tuned and be ready for when ready. So check tomorrow. So tomorrow's the 16th. So go ahead, check that link tomorrow, and you'll see the link to get the discount. You'll have to enter a code to get the discount. So keep that in mind. All right. So now that we are through with the handing out the 2 free consultations, congratulations to the 2 of you that got the free consultations. We handed out 10 free consultations this entire week. So congratulations. I'm looking forward to advising you and to assisting you. And for those of you who still need a consultation, go ahead and use the discount code that will be published tomorrow on the link. So we have the link tree on the bio page. Use that to access to schedule your own appointment and then access the discount. Now, speaking of taking action on your application, let's talk about the changes that may be coming. So changes, I am anticipating that changes will be coming in immigration because President Biden has taken a turn on his approach. So he has shifted his approach, his attitude towards how to handle immigration issues. And I'm seeing more of a stance that he will become tough on certain immigrants and certain ways that immigrants are coming into the United States. So we're seeing a shift here. And I want to talk about, I know the next question is, what do I do about that? So I want to talk about that. How do you prepare for, these kinds of changes? Now, let me just recap to you what kind of changes we could be seeing very soon, because President Biden, and I'm going to just give you a summary here, you'll see it in the news as well. So President Biden is currently negotiating with the Republican side, with Congress, on implementing more hard-nosed approaches to immigration and the immigrants at the border. What does that mean exactly? How does he plan to do that? How does he plan to basically negotiate, give them concessions, to and which leads to him being tough on certain immigrants at the border? Well, what the Republicans are doing is they are saying they are not going to pass any kind of bill authorizing the funding of the war in Ukraine. And that means no money for Ukraine. And so Biden is looking at it like, okay, the damage that could be done to possible national security. He's, looking at the best interests of the United States in regards to the war in Ukraine, and saying, well, which one is better? Giving some concessions to Congress and getting the money for the Ukraine war, and he's for that. He is willing to do that because he's seeing that funding the war in Ukraine to help them to continue to defend the country, in his book, it's more important. And so he's willing to turn around and make a shift on his immigration policies. Now, the Republicans are asking for three main actions for Biden to take on his part. So one is to limit humanitarian parole. So, for example, there are some countries that they are allowed to come into the United States with humanitarian parole, because maybe the conditions in the country are so bad that they have made an exception. So the government, the U.S. government, in this case, Biden administration, can make that decision based on their discretion to let an individual or let individuals in, or citizens of certain countries in, to protect them from war, to protect them from harsh conditions in their countries, or national damages from national disasters. So we're seeing that with Haiti, for example, Venezuela, we're seeing, and Cuba, we're seeing where they are paroling those citizens of those countries into the United States. Many of them are coming through the border and being paroled that way. In addition to that, they're implementing programs where they're trying to screen them in their country first and allow them to come into the United States. Hundreds of thousands of immigrants have been allowed to come into the country that way. So the Republicans are saying, stop that. And it looks like he is willing to now hear them out and take action and meet that demand. The other is expanded, which I think this one is, for me, this one is also very concerning, because it could mean that it broadens the scope of immigrants targeted for removal. So the other one is expanded expedited removal. So what does that mean? It means that they can go nationally. So right now, the way that expedited removal works is if there's someone who came into the country recently, within the last 2 weeks, and they're 100 miles off the border, then the authorities, so for example, ICE, they have the authority to go and get them and subject them to expedited removal, meaning they don't go through court, they just send them out of the country, and that's that. End of story. No court, no second chances, no appeals. They're out. So what they're saying is this needs to be expanded nationally. My main concern is, what does that mean exactly when they say expanded nationally? So are we going to be seeing this happening for the immigrants, undocumented immigrants who are traveling from airport to airport, as in from state to state? They're not coming from out of the United States, but they're already in the United States. Who is this going to cover? Right now, it only covers new arrivals, but is the ultimate goal here to broaden the scope of who gets targeted for expedited removal? That's a major concern here. Now, if you have there is a difference between expedited removal and then removal. Removal allows one to go through court, so they have to have a cutoff point. And for expedited removal, it's for new arrivals who recently arrived in the most recent 2 weeks. So, we have here a limit on humanitarian parole, possible expanded expedited removal, which could possibly make it dangerous for undocumented immigrants. I mean, the risk is never zero, but the risk is going to get a lot higher if they're expanding expedited removal throughout the country, nationally, not just within 100 miles of the border. And then the final is they are going to make it a lot harder for one to apply for asylum. So instead of allowing the process to play out where one applies for asylum based on what they're going through, what they are now going to do is they're saying that they're going to, from the get go, once you get to the airport, once you get to the border, they're going to put that immigrant through very, very tough predetermination process. And if they don't meet that, they're going to send them out anyway without any more chances. Now, the dangerous part about that is that they're not allowed to go through a process. They're not allowed to, first of all, if they're going through a more stringent screening process, so this is called a credible, fair interview. If they are making the standards very high, there are many, many immigrants who are coming into the country that they have all they know is they need help. They need to be here to be safe. They don't know the legal arguments. They don't know, they don't have access to lawyers. They possibly don't know anyone to reach out for help. There's nobody there to advocate for them during that credible, fair interview, which is going to have a higher standard. And so that means that an immigrant is not going to, certain immigrants may not know how to present their case in such a way that they understand they qualify for asylum. So now the officers are prone to mistakes and they're not going to be held accountable for those mistakes, because once they fail the credible, fair interview, it means they are going to either remain detained or they're going to be they're going to be subjected to expedited removal as well. So that's a very dangerous part of the fact that they are now assuming that an immigrant can meet complex legal requirements instead of giving them a fair shot at the getting attorneys or an attorney or an advocate, or basically a chance to put their case together. So, sometimes when they come, they declare asylum, they tell the officer exactly what's happening to them, and then the officer is able to either refer them to court or find that, yes, they do have a credible fear and allow them to go ahead and apply for asylum. And then over the next couple months to a year, they can build their case. They can get police reports. They can get documents. They can to back up what the facts here. But by subjecting them to more stringent standards at the get-go, they're not allowing them to make the case for themselves for asylum. So that, amounts to a sort of inhumane approach, because I know, when you're running from danger, you possibly don't have any of your belongings. You don't have any of your paperwork. You don't have, maybe even you don't even have your identity. All you want to do is get to safety and bring your children to safety. And so that person is not going to be in a state to meet a very high legal standard at the border. So how can you prepare for these kinds of changes? And what does it mean for those who have been here for a long time? So right now, say those who have been here, you've been living here for a long time. It makes me nervous because I am seeing a shift. However, what we're not hearing and what the Biden administration has not announced is that they are changing policies for those who do have a legal basis to be here. So for those who need relief, you are still free to apply for those, and the policies are still there to allow you to get this relief. And so, how do you prepare for this? Is to see what you qualify for, to be able to determine from now whether there is relief. And what I do on my end is I not only, so you have some lawyers, and many of my clients have this story to tell you. um, they have gone to other lawyers, and the lawyer says, you're out of status. Yeah. Are you married? No. Okay, well, you're not married. You don't have any hope. Go find yourself a spouse and come back. So the attorneys then just say the only way that you can get your papers is through marriage. I don't do that. Because I have educated myself, and I understand the alternative options for clients here. And so that's what I look at. Do you qualify for an alternative to be able to get permission to be here, to get the work permit, and then ultimately to get the green card? And I have found that for my clients. That's the last night I called my client. I had great news for my client who qualified for the U visa. You often hear me talking about the T visa, but this client qualified for the U visa because this client was a victim of a crime. And I remember the first day we spoke in the consultation, this client said the same thing to me, that, uh, they've spoken to multiple lawyers, and the lawyers are really telling them that she has to leave the country to get her green card. And I was able to really dig into my client's background. What else has gone? How long have you been here? What else has gone on with your family, with your friends in past relationships? And this is where the a domestic violence situation arose. And I was able to determine, based, because I dug deeper than some lawyers. Some lawyers, they're on the phone for 5 minutes. If you're not married, if you overstay, they're like, go back home and either marry somebody or go back home. But in her case, because I asked those questions, I was able to find an alternative here. And so, with tears of joy, after years and years and years of trying to figure out something, she's going to start off with getting permission to be here and having her work permit. And eventually, that's going to lead to her U visa. So the U visa does take some years, but the good thing about the U visa is you do get your work permit, you do get deferred action while you wait. So if you're the victim of a crime, this is one way to be able to get your work permit while you wait for the process to be completed. Same with VAWA, for example. So some people are married, and then the spouse abandons them or mistreats them. And in that case, that immigrant thinks they don't have any options left, because now the spouse that was going to petition for them is out of the picture. And that, once again, that's not true. I did just get approval for the 5-year work permit and travel document, and that was based on the spouse's mistreatment of my client. So now this is her process. She's going through the process on her own. completely excluding that spouse is history. And now she can move forward in her own process, confident to move forward without the stress of that spouse. So I look for alternatives here. I don't just assume that if you're not married, there's no hope here. So that's my tip here is prepare by right now is the time because the policies, they've changed the policies, for example, within the USCIS, within ICE, even within Department of State to be a lot more immigrant friendly and fair and just. I know we have a long way to go, especially when it comes to processing times, but at the same time, it's far better than it was in the previous administration. And that has not changed. So my best advice to you is this is where you need to take the chance to seek the relief. Otherwise, that the policies that are in place now, the good policies that are in place now to help immigrants to get status could go away, especially after the election if somebody comes in that's more anti-immigrant than ever. So, we have a number of candidates now who are going to who are in competition to run against Biden. We have DeSantis, we have Trump, we have other, and all the majority of the Republicans have the same opinion about immigration. They need to crack down on immigration, deport immigrants in masses. So no matter which Republican based on the candidates I'm seeing, no matter which one wins or runs against Biden, if one of them wins, we're going to see some harsher changes here. So take action now to move forward. All right. So let me go ahead and answer some questions. So put your questions in the comments now, and I'll go ahead and answer. I'm working my way through the comments now. If my wife threatens to cancel our paperwork, what can I do as a person without money? So the VAWA petition is there's no filing fee for it. The best thing you can do is invest. If you cannot find money, there are nonprofit organizations that could possibly help you to file those papers. Some of them are very overburdened themselves, and some of them, because of that, the representation may not be as personalized as a private law firm, but certainly, if you have no money to invest in your process, you need to find an option like that, because the only way you're going to fix this situation is making sure that you take action, and invest in your process. Hi there, Lati. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Can I get, okay, I'm not sure what that's referring to. What if a client at work verbally attacks you with social slurs? What can be done about that? Now, if you're having a conflict with a coworker, that's a completely different matter than immigration. If you are being bullied by a client, say that client is telling you you need to do this work, or they're gonna call immigration, or they harass you with these threats, or harass you with the slurs, and they make you feel as if you need to do it or else, that could be a different issue here. But this is where I say it's so important to get the consultation done, because I can't, just by this alone, I can't tell you what can be done about it, but I can listen to the facts, ask the questions I need to ask to determine what could work best for you, and then determine if you qualify here. So this is where it's very important. Okay, so racial slurs. So yes, definitely schedule an appointment. Now, if say you're not worried about your immigration papers, but they're issuing racial slurs at you, then you should be reporting this. So there are different agencies you could report this to, and you should be exploring that. But you need to talk to an employment attorney about that. Okay, so this apply to persons who have legally come in the country and tries to seek help through asylum? So it usually not. So if you came into the country, now keep in mind that people that are coming through the border, yes, there are those that are crossing out without permission, but there are, as I said before, the United States government has admitted hundreds of thousands of immigrants. Or I shouldn't say admitted. Admitted, there's under immigration law, there you have to meet certain requirements to be considered admitted into the country. But they've given them permission to not be in detention and to basically leave the detention and go into the United States. And this is the government that has permitted this through certain types of parole or conditional parole. However, expedited removal would still apply to them if they were released or they crossed the border within the last 2 weeks. Now, with the expansion of expedited removal, it could apply to those who came in with a visa, but then they came in within the last 2 weeks too. So it may apply, but in most cases, when you enter the country with a visa, you're not given 2 weeks, you're given maybe 6 months. And in that case, it's very unlikely that the expedited removal would apply here. The best thing though you can do, if you're here to seek asylum, take the steps, don't delay. And this is what I'm trying to tell you is that right now the policies are still in place for you to seek relief. They're not shutting that down. What they are trying to focus on is the border, and they're trying to expand expedited removal. And if you want to make sure that you are not caught up in that mix, that's where you need to explore your own options to get that legal relief. And asylum is one of them. So yes, when a US citizen is applying for their fiance, a child who's under 21 and unmarried can also be included on the application. So if you haven't heard from immigration in the last year and a half, it really depends on their processing times, but you should check on that. Is it possible to get approved for a green card without the interview and biometrics within 6 months? So I've gotten an approval in 5 months, but it was not without the biometrics, and usually it's not without the biometrics. If they have a recent fingerprint, they may send you a reuse a notification saying that they plan to use your old biometrics, but that's as close to not having a biometrics as you're gonna get. And you'll have to see them issue that reuse notice that they don't will not take another biometrics because they already have your fingerprints. All right, so go ahead, and I see someone wants a call. Go ahead, call the number 561-405-4889. You'll see my number on all my videos. You'll also see the number on the link in the profile, and you'll see it on the website. So go to the link in the profile, you'll see the number there. But it's also in the comments under immigration lawyer Sharifa. If boyfriend is a felon, can he still get married and sponsor you? Yes. But keep in mind that he might be restricted from petitioning for you if he falls under the Adam Walsh Act, where the crime involved a minor. If the crime involved a minor, then he could be barred from petitioning for you. What about the pending asylum cases since 2015? So once again, here you're applying for relief. So the policies that Biden is currently trying to implement does not affect those who currently have some pending applications. Now, it could affect you if they find adversely against you if they deny the application. But once you have a pending application and you qualify for that relief, you're not going to be included in expedited removal. Remember also that expedited removal is limited to new arrivals. And even though it may be expanded nationally, I still have yet to see what kind of agreement they're coming to. But I suspect they will not include people who have been here for a long time or been here more than the 2 weeks, because that in itself would be a logistical nightmare. If you're seeking asylum, can you still get married and go that route with change of status? It depends on how you were admitted to the country. It's possible, but there are a number of follow-up questions here. How did you come to the country? Did you come through the border? Did you come with a visa? And then also, is it advisable to abandon or withdraw your asylum in order to seek the marriage? This is where it's very important to weigh your options here. All right. I'm going to go on to YouTube and answer some questions here. Good morning. If you marry a person with disabilities, can you get a green card? Yes, you can. A person with disabilities is not prevented from being your petitioner. Now, of course, when I say a disabled person, if their mental capacity is questionable, or is questionable as to whether they can make judgments for themselves, that might be another issue. However, if they are, capable making decisions, they have mental capacity to marry you and be in a marriage, then yes, that is not something that's prevented. When are the elections? November 2024. And if the other side wins, we'll be seeing these changes in 2025. Can you explain the 601? So it's a waiver that one applies for if you are found to be inadmissible. So if you have a violation in your past that you need to get pardoned for, this I-601 could be for you. You have to qualify, though, if you have certain qualifying relatives. Those relatives will depend on what kind of waiver or violation you're asking a pardon for. So this question here is I think it's in regards to the U visa and then the T. Now, when it comes to the T visa, it is extremely confidential. So whether now if the police, it depends on the nature of the trafficking situation. In some cases, law enforcement are not involved. In other cases, they are, just by virtue of the nature of whatever was done to you as the victim of trafficking. So it's going to depend. In some cases, it's the Department of Labor who is a law enforcement agency. And in that case, they treat your case with very high confidentiality, and so does immigration. So nobody is going to be called or interrogated, and your name is never disclosed. So it just depends. But some agencies, they the way they investigate without you know releasing your name and things, and that's even if they investigate. Also remember that under the T status, so getting the T status, the law enforcement certification is not necessarily required. So an investigation is not necessarily required. On a work application form, are you legally authorized to work here? What does it mean if I'm qualified through an immediate relative? So I don't get into forms, and because the answer to that is going to depend on what your circumstances are. Do you have to marry to the green card holder to apply for VAWA? What if you have lease together, kids together, and it's a domestic partnership, or around 2 years with bills shared with each other? So if the state you're in will recognize your partnership or union as a common law marriage under immigration, it can be considered marriage. But in some way or form, you have to be married to get VAWA. But keep in mind that this is where I remind individuals that there are other options. So, for example, with the T status, I did represent a client who was in a relationship. So, the client was lured to the United States under the promise of marriage. But when they got here, they became a maid to that person. So the person made it look as if they love them, they want to marry them. When they came here, they were looking after their children, they were cleaning the house, cooking the food. And if they did not do those things, then they faced threats of deportation, they faced physical threats. They were threatened with being thrown out of the house. So they were forced to do these things against their will. That qualifies an individual for T status, and that client was approved. If an F1 status, and keep in mind that client was not married. So in the T status case, the marriage is not required here. If an F1 student falls out of status but stays in school and graduates as a nurse, can they still petition for a green card under the EB2 national interest? So being a nurse alone isn't going to qualify you for the national interest waiver. You have to show that you have a bachelor's degree with at least 5 years of experience, or you have a master's degree. The master's degree and the advanced degree, such as master's and the PhD, doctorate, are usually the main focus of the national interest waiver. And in the case, unfortunately, where you've overstayed, even the national interest waiver wouldn't help you to get your green card while being here in the US. So this is why I say, if you've overstayed, make sure you figure out your options before you overstay. Because once you overstay, it does limit your options. So I do try to find alternative options, but overstaying does limit your options. How long does a T status take? So it can take anywhere from 9 months to 12 months to get the decision and get the work permit. Is there an interview applying through VAWA or T status like you would for a marriage green card? Now, they always say they reserve the right to interview individuals, but I've never had a situation where my client was called in for a T interview. This is where it is very important to submit a solid application, because an officer at the Vermont Service Center is reviewing that, and they're reviewing every single detail to understand whether your application is credible, whether you're believable, and whether the evidence is enough to make them believe this happened to you. Um, So I was petitioned by my father in 85, but was denied because I was illegitimate. Can I use the petition as a 245I even if it was denied? Because he re-petitioned for me and was approved, but he passed before it got. So this is very complicated. So it's possible. It's possible I would, because usually to fall under Section 245I, it has to be an approvable application. But if you were legitimate, because illegitimate means they didn't acknowledge you legally as their child. But if they legitimize the father-child relationship, and now you can show that it's a valid legal father-child relationship, then maybe that is what led to the subsequent approval. Um, so that there's an argument there that maybe there was a mistake in the first petition, but this definitely would have to there has to be more details here to be able to come to a conclusion as to whether you fall under Section 245I. All right. Hi there, Orlando. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming on. My friend got an interview canceled. Notification after a green card interview. What's the meaning? So sometimes they have duplicate. They accidentally schedule a duplicate after a green card interview. That could be what was the reason, or it could mean that they're planning to have a second interview, which is considered a Stokes interview. So it's hard to say unless I understand what's going on in the in your case. And remember, I'm not the attorney here, so it's hard to say. So what is cancellation? Cancellation of removal, I'm thinking. Cancellation of removal is where you are, as a defense to deportation, you apply for cancellation of removal. There are certain factors that you have to show or criteria you have to meet to be able to get a cancellation of your removal. The great part about cancellation of removal is you do get your green card if it's approved. Now, this is, I think, where the rumor is um, that if you've been here for 10 years as an undocumented immigrant, you can apply for your green card. But it's not that simple. You have to actually be defending in immigration court against deportation to get cancellation of removal. So you have to show that you've been here for at least 10 years, you've had physical presence, continuous physical presence, that you have good moral character, and that you do have close ties to a U.S. citizen or U.S. citizen relatives. I don't have a lot of evidence for marriage based on green card. What should you do? So as your marriage, as you grow together as a couple, start getting that evidence. Um, getting married, if what the immigration from the immigration's perspective, they're looking at it this way. If you are married, you're going to have something. You're never going to be in a marriage and have nothing at all. That's suspicious. That would even be suspicious to me. If you came to me and said, I am married to my spouse, but I don't have a single thing to show for the marriage, then on the officer side, they're thinking you got married for the green card. So, when you get married and when you're in a genuine marriage, you start to work towards a life together. Um, and that's going to involve maybe paying half of the bills together. Maybe somebody is going to be added to a lease. Maybe you're going to get a bank account together. Maybe you're going to purchase a car together. Maybe you're going to go on one of you is going to go on the other's car insurance. You're going to get health insurance together. You're going to get benefits together. You're going to be doing family planning. You're going to be thinking, you're going to be getting together with friends and family. So they're going to be able to tell a lot about your relationship. But you cannot have nothing. Even I believe that that's really suspicious if you have nothing to show for it. So, what are you doing as a married couple to plan for your lives? And all you have to do is put that on paper, right? You get that in document form. Whatever you're doing as a couple, get that on paper form. You're living together, get that on paper form in a lease, or have your relatives attest to it in an affidavit that you're living together, or have your roommate, if you have a roommate who lives with the both of you, have them do an affidavit. If you don't have a landlord, or if so there are just different ways to prove your marriage. So go ahead and build that evidence together. How long have the I-601As lasted? So it's going 2 years. Unfortunately, they're going average 2 years, maybe even longer. So that's very frustrating right now. How long after my husband filed for my son in Jamaica, and the case has been so I would say 2 years for the case to be completely processed at the embassy. And I'm finding this to be worldwide. The 2 years, the average I'm seeing, a year and a half to 2 years. So I've represented clients all over the world, and so far I'm seeing the same timeline for embassies across the world. So son had his interview in Jamaica, forgot his police record. What can be done? So usually they will give your son a chance to get the police record. In the meantime, they're gonna put the case on hold and tell him to send in the police record. So that's what usually happens. If you have a 10-year green card and divorce, how can you get citizenship green card since August 2020? So then you have to wait the 5 years. So wait 5 years, and then you wait the 5 years and apply for citizenship. So since you're no longer married to the citizen spouse, you have to wait the 5 years. What's a consultation fee? Right now, it's 100. Hi there, Vibes Cartel Vines. So nice to see you. So the consultation fee right now is 150, but I'm opening up. If you want to wait until tomorrow, you can go to the link in the profile, go to the link in the description of the video on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and on Instagram. Go to the link in the profile, go do that tomorrow, and you will see the discount. And right now we're going to be doing, instead of 150, you'll do $100 discount. You get $100.50 discount. Oh, thank you so much, Vibes Cartel. I appreciate that. What if I'm in deportation because my wife didn't submit my paperwork? She used the money. So give us a call, because I need to understand, why didn't your wife do that? That could amount to extreme cruelty. Your wife should be prioritizing your status. And if your spouse isn't doing that, then it makes me suspicious about whether there's mistreatment. So we need to talk. So go ahead, schedule the appointment, and let's talk. We're opening up the discounted rates tomorrow, so you can go ahead, and if you want to wait till then and book, But if you want to get in quickly, you can do it now. So it's your choice because my schedule is filling up. So just make sure you use your judgment as to whether you can wait or whether you can risk the time being booked out. So. Hi there. What effect can having a restraining order from a sister have on getting a green card? So it depends on what that reveals. Um, offhand, if there's something you're concerned about, this is where it's important for you to schedule a consultation, and then we can speak openly about it, in a confidential setting, but we can talk about what facts are behind the restraining order to figure out if it's going to affect the green card. Because I wouldn't be able to say yay or nay. You'd be surprised what kind of, that's on public record. So that is a part of public record. And because it is a part of the public record, it means that if it contradicts some kind of fact that you had, some kind of fact that you put on the application, that could be a problem. So. All right, so that's it for me. I really enjoy sitting down and speaking with you all. So I tend to go over, but thank you for your time. Thank you for listening in today. Congratulations to the two of you that got the free consultations. And our season of giving is not over. Tomorrow, we're opening up the link to get your discounted consultation. So check tomorrow. So tomorrow, Saturday, I won't be on live. So just go ahead and check. We'll post it on the feed so that you can see it as a reminder. But go ahead, book it. My schedule is filling up and I want to help you. Remember that my advice here is that with everything going on, we're seeing Biden shifting his approach to immigration. I don't, right now, he's focusing on expedited removal, expanding that, asylum, restricting it, and ending or limiting parole. We don't know how where this is going, but how you can prepare is take advantage of the policies in the USCIS now. So, Tesh, you asked what time. Go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and open it up at midnight tonight. At midnight tonight, you will see it's open. So midnight tonight, check and start scheduling your appointments so I can help you because the best way forward is to figure out what your best option is. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Happy holidays as usual. I know you all may be shopping or just looking forward to being with family, or I know in some cases missing family. So just take care of yourselves. And I will see you though. I'll continue to see you next week throughout the week. All right. Have a great one. Bye bye.